And I think in education, we're always looking for that one thing that's going to take every kid that comes through the door and make them a lifelong learner, ready to go out and succeed in the 21st century. And once you come to the realization that there is no magic powder that's going to work from a K-12 or a K-16 curriculum, you understand that it's going to be a series of little battles, a series of little victories, the iPad being one of those. The iPad, one of the reasons that we went with it is because it provides a platform that we know we can grow with. I see that kids are engaged in a much different way than they were last year. I see that the kids are able to share and I think raise that level of discourse and discussions.
There's a new way of learning at Immaculate High School, and if you look into our math classes, as you look into our English classes, as you look into Spanish, students are learning a whole lot differently. You walk into a classroom and you don't look up to the front of the room and see the teacher up there anymore. You walk into a classroom and the teacher is amongst a circle of students discussing last night's homework or working through a problem. They're hands-on with them as opposed to standing up and just delivering content. They're now working through showing students how to analyze, how to process, how to apply. It's about content mastery, not just content delivery.
How are number 10? Oh yeah, okay, 6x minus 4.
Instead of them being up in the front of the classroom, they now are teaching maybe from the back of the classroom or within the middle of the classroom. Or there might be one group of students that are working independently on a project while the teacher is over in the classroom on another side working with a different group of students as she moves from group to group. So that whole way of teaching in the classroom, I think 10 years ago, if you walked by a classroom and you heard a lot of noise, you would think, oh, that teacher doesn't have good classroom management. Now, when you walk by a classroom and you hear more than one voice, that's a good thing. Now, when you hear all the voices, to me, that's real learning going on.
I do use it for to check how students are getting the concept, yes or no, and it's an instant feedback. So I do use it like twice that day.
You're gonna do number 8 and 10, and you turn it in on Edmodo.
I had students who said, like 52% said that they don't need help with that. And this was good because I changed my instruction based on the feedback of the students. The other one is that I ask them to show their work. They can submit their work, just turn it and type it. But in math, I do like to see their work, their sketches. So that's why I ask them there is a camera built in the Edmodo, so they can take like a picture of what they have on work, and I can see it right away. It does give me a sense of if they really got it or no before we get to a homework or before we get to the quiz later on. So when I check this as a graded work, I can see that if I need really to go over something before, or it's fine, we don't have to waste more time on the same concept.
I think it becomes, in a way, it's the students and I are actually better partners. The kids are able to have it right in front of them too.
It becomes an engaging environment versus one that they're just listening. They have to provide feedback. They have to interact with each other. They have to interact with the system. So it's a win-win.
My favorite way is definitely for group work, for having them look up something. I give them a task or I give them a question to answer, and they have to come up with the resources to solve it on their own. So they're searching on their own, they're finding credible sources on their own. That's a big thing, especially for college. And they get to take their own spin on something.
The thing I like most about the iPad is the ability to get documents to the students instantaneously with no lag time. And it's a huge improvement to my class, especially being able to jump from lesson to lesson, from class to class rapidly with everything pre-staged.
It improves the fact that, as I said, it makes the students more responsible.
When you're engaged, you're learning. If you are passively sitting in a chair, just trying to absorb information, you're only going to retain about 10% of that. So when they're engaged with the iPads, when they're able to take the things that I'm teaching them and apply it in an activity using the technology piece, I think they're going to have a much higher retention. And I've seen that in some of the lessons.
It helps the students connect with each other, and they have like a study group, like they can ask each other a question and help each other.
Getting scheduled for the computer lab was something that was very difficult. And now I don't have to worry about it because they have their own little computers.
Most of my students really enjoy using the iPads in the classroom. I think they like the fact that it enables them to use, again, technology. I try to find apps and ways of using it that are familiar to them, but I also try to find ways to use it that pushes them.
You know, I can easily, at the touch of my fingertips, understand something that's being discussed in class that everybody knows about. If I'm a little bit behind, I can quickly research it, understand, and get fully involved in the conversation, which, you know, will in turn lead to a better understanding of the material that's being discussed in class.
The iPad helps a lot. Like for French, I use it, I can write all my assignments on it and then just send them through Dropbox to the teacher, and she can send things back and other assignments.
I'm a visual learner, and that's like the only way I can really memorize things, like by seeing it.
It's really easy because it's just a click of a button and you can learn.
Yeah, it's just one thing that I can carry around. I don't have to have piles and piles of binders and notebooks. This is all I carry to every class.
Well, since I was little, my parents always forced me to learn using books, and actually using the iPad helps me a lot because I don't have to like use a light or a candle to read in the book because the iPad screen is bright.
Like if we're learning about, say, like Rome in World Civ, we can look up pictures of ancient Rome instead of just explaining what it looks like. We can see what it looks like.
There are also apps that your teacher can teach the lesson and then record it, and like the screen as they're drawing whatever equations on it, and then you can watch it at home, like over and over, and get it that way, which I think is an awesome resource, and that really made me very excited.
So what are we doing?
We are looking at a lesson on the discriminant that my algebra teacher put on EduCreations. Like this is what she did.
Hi guys, so I'm gonna try to add a little bit to the lesson that we had today about the discriminant, and this is just a trial. Let me know what you think about this and what's your feedback. So let's say today we,
like especially while I was at home, which means that it's basically like extra help, and like clearly you get the lesson while you're at home and when you're doing your homework. You can view the lesson while you're not there.
I've noticed like since I've started using the iPad more that my grades have been going up and staying constantly at one point like high.
I really don't have to carry around so many papers and books, and if I need to look up something from last quarter that I would have otherwise emptied out, it'll just be right there. And also even Googling things, I don't have to write them down to Google later. I could just look it up right away, so it's easier to like keep up with what's going on.
It's not about the device, it's not about the apps, it's really about how students are learning, how they're being engaged.
Really, the iPad enables you to decide which way you learn, and it enables the student to pick the way that they can teach themselves. Throughout college and in the business world, when we are using technology in our everyday lives, we're not limited to just a pen and pencil.
We're using new apps and new materials, and we're pretty much on the cutting edge of new information that we're gaining and we're going to be using in college.
As you'll see, some of our teachers are experimenting in new ways. There's no 3-ring binder that says this is the new plan of how you teach. And so there's some trial and error, and that you have to have an openness and you have to have a good relationship with your students to do that and to try and to look for their feedback. And I think that's what's great about the Immaculate teachers is that they're such outstanding educators. They're confident enough in who they are and what great teachers they are that they'll ask for the students' feedback.
The core values and the core things that we do and our goals as a faculty have not changed. The way we deliver that instruction has changed radically. You know, we're starting at the baby steps. Right now we're starting at that, to use the baseball analogy, again, we're starting at that single A level right now with what we're doing in the classroom. I think that it's amazing how far we've come in just a year. So what I would expect if you came to revisit us next year, you'd see even more teachers using it more fully, looking for more capabilities, the kids using it as a tool even more in their process.
The iPad was challenging at first, and it takes a lot of getting used to. But once you get it and once you put the work in, I believe it's worth it.
As I reflect back on the year, I have to say I'm really pleased. It's been a big success, mostly because learning is different now at Immaculate High School. The students are more engaged. The teachers have had success with it in the classroom. And when we started, we had some questions. We've answered some of those questions along the way, but we still have some questions. I'd like to consider we're in the beta phase. But as I look forward to next year, I'm really excited that we have the iPads. There's not quite the anxiety level that there was maybe at the beginning when we first started, because we know that it really makes a difference, and the students are learning in new and really exciting ways here at Immaculate High School.